everyone. Hello and welcome in. I'll give you all a few more minutes to come in and then I will welcome you all in. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. I will just tag you a few people. And give everyone a few moments to pop in. And we'll get started in just a moment. This is the Wellness Works book Builders Book Tour by Grace for This. They are presenting it, and we will get started in just a moment. In just a moment. Hey, Ariel, how you doing? Hey, Kingdom Advocate. Hey, great. I was just about to let me put this flyer up here real quick and let everybody know where they are. I will show that in just a second. Hold on. I hope y'all are doing all right. Hope y'all are doing okay. But tonight is Wellness Works Builders Book Tour. So y'all get ready. So invite all your people, tag everybody in, let me know that y'all can hear me. Let me know that you all can hear me. Hey Paula, how you doing, Sister Paula? I'm just gonna share the flyer real quick so that everyone can see. There we go. So we are on the Wellness Works Builders Book Tour, where the work meets the world. And last night was held by Kenitra Moselle, none other than the founder of Grace for This. So hers was the April 1st and 2nd, and mine is tonight, April 3rd and 4th. And then as you'll see, Jerisha Lee will be on the 15th and 16th. Lakeisha Washington will be on April 20th and 21st. And Miss Paula Lewis in the comments, she will be on April 22nd and 23rd. We had Kayla Young coming in April 27th and 28th. And then ending it, we have closing out Miss Crystal Lou, April 29th and 30th. And hey, Jerisha, how you doing? Thanks for coming in. So I just wanted to share that with you, everyone, so they will know what we were getting ready for. So I will get back to me. There we go. So hey, everyone, again, welcome in to my tour nights. So tonight I entitled this Embracing Change. So I again want to welcome everyone in, and I'm just sharing with you guys my personal story and just let you all know that this is a safe space, reflective space. So feel free to be comfortable and put whatever you like to put in the chat. It's about us engaging with one another. All right, thanks so much. Yeah, story time. That's right, story time. All right, so I'll start by, you see the title is Embracing Change, right? So the life that I knew. Now, some of you may or may not know, I was married for 23 years before it ended, and it ended a few years ago. Matter of fact, I was 43. But and I got married at 20. So all I knew was being a wife and a mother, some stability, a routine. That was kind of just all that I knew from, like I said, 20 years old to my 40s, so majority of my life, right? And that's the life that I thought that I was going to have, until I go see the Father, in my life. Okay, in my mind, it was like, okay, My parents still married, regardless of what they go through. They still married. Aunts and uncles. They stay married. Back in the day, they stayed married. They didn't get divorced no matter what was going on. Uncle and granddad, whoever was out there doing that thing. You see my candle, yeah, it's back there. My little bookshelf. I said, let me move that over here. But yeah, and so they all, they for whatever reason, whatever issues they went through, they stayed married. And of course, ultimately, marriage is supposed to be forever. But for me, it didn't happen that way. And so after a while, things kind of just, I guess, went to the left. Yeah. Yeah, they went to the left. And I'm going to take my time with this in a little bit, but things kind of went to the left to where it's like, wait a minute, it's supposed to be death do us part, sickness and in health, for better or for worse, right? Let me know if y'all understand. I know a lot of y'all in here married, but that's what it's supposed to be. That's what God said. When two of you are joined together as one, it's supposed to be forever, right? But it doesn't always happen that way. It does not always happen that way. So it kind of took me through some changes. It took me through a lot of changes, and got my little protein shake here, y'all. But it took me through a lot of changes because that was all I knew. What Paula says true. My microphone is blocking it. It says that's true regardless of what was going on. Right, exactly. Regardless of what's going on, marriage is supposed to be forever, But as we see so much today in these times, that marriage doesn't always last forever, for different reasons. You say, yes, ma'am. Right, Cassandra. It's like, okay, Lord, but you pray about it and seek guidance, counseling, all the things, and the ending is the ending, regardless of whatever the outcome. I would say the outcome is the outcome, whether it's an ending of the marriage or ending of that type of marriage or just the beginning or just all the things. And Kingdom Advocate says, yeah, old school used to go through the ring. Right, they went through the ringer no matter what. They went through the ringer. Exactly. Hey, Latanya. But yeah, tea time. But yeah, it's like they stayed married forever. Granddaddies, great uncles, all that, they did whatever they were doing out there, when they supposed to been working, or they, some of them, had other families and all kind of things, but they stayed married. Grandmama stayed there. She didn't leave him. But no, that's not how. I don't feel that's how God designed marriage to be. You're supposed to be there, like I said, with those vows, better for worse, sickness and in health. That doesn't always pan out that way. So that will bring me into, again, like I said, when everything just kind of shifted for me, because that was all I knew. I got married at 20. I actually met my ex-husband at 14. So, for the majority of my life, that was all I knew. He was all I knew, It took me through some changes. And excuse me, y'all, grandchildren is coming in. I'm on right now, okay? This is going in there, okay, baby? All right, y'all know this real life. Okay, y'all know this real life. Paula said, I understand I was living out of wedlock, acting like we were. Yeah, that's in part of my story too. Actually, before we got married, there was a time where, right, we were not living in wedlock. We were not, we were living like we were in wedlock, and we weren't, and, of course we were like, okay, well, we did go ahead and get married, So, hey, Kayla, we did go ahead and get married. So we were like, okay, we even went through a little bit of counseling with my pastor right before the marriage. But, we kind of had already made our decision, right, baseline, right, the baseline. So that brings me to, again, like I said, when the shift happened. Hey, Didi, how you doing? One of my YouTubers, my YouTube sisters. So that's when everything kind of shifted, with the divorce. My life that I knew it was over. It was over. I didn't even actually have a choice in it. It was just over, and I accepted it. I won't say I didn't have a choice. I accepted it. I prayed about it and I accepted it. And so from there came the learning about myself, growth, because like I said, I wasn't just losing a marriage, I was losing a version of myself that I thought, you know, was going to be me forever. I thought that version of me was going to be me forever. So I didn't know any other version of myself. And so, therefore, once that happened, my mind was in shambles, if you will. I didn't know who I was. I did not know who Deborah was. I did not know who Deborah was because, mind you, Deborah got married at 20 years old. She had barely moved into her adulthood. So I had to learn over time who I was, but even in the beginning of that, I went through a lot of changes. And of course, that is where I began writing. That's where I began writing, like in the beginning of the end. I began writing, just getting my thoughts out. But through the years, I just went through a lot of changes that I didn't I had to learn, I had to find language for it. It's so easy to lose yourself, right, Kayla? It's so easy to lose yourself in that because when and we're taught this, and of course, God designed, there's a role for the wife and the husband. God designed you to come together as one. So that was all I knew. I didn't know how to just be Deborah. I hadn't quite learned how to just be Deborah because, like I said, I got married at 20 years old. I got married at 20, so I was like, okay, I'm Deborah, but Deborah Jefferson was gone for a while. I was Deborah Burnett at the time. And that's all I knew. And I know I keep repeating that statement, that's all I knew, because literally that's all I knew. That is all I knew. Hey, Camille, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for coming in. So I didn't know anything else. So that again brings me to the change. Like I said, once everything shifted, when that decision came that okay, it was ending, we were getting a divorce. My children were grown, but then it still, my son was a teenager. It still brought me to becoming a single mother. I didn't know that life. I mean, I went through some changes in my marriage, but I did not know that life. I did not know about being a single mom. I didn't know any of the things. At least I didn't think I did because I was, sometimes I was living like I was anyway. But because in a marriage, okay, when one falls, the other one's supposed to lift them up. So I learned to do a lot of lifting up. So it just was second nature. But then once it ended, once it was official, okay, like, look, I'm leaving, then it was like, wait a minute, what am I doing now? Who am I lifting up? That was a big thing. Who am I lifting up? Because I was so used to lifting everybody else up, lifting my spouse up, lifting my children up, I didn't know how to lift Deborah up. So that's where, again, like I said, when that shift happened. So once that happened, and had to do some soul searching, and a lot of that with that soul searching came in the writing. And it was as Paula said, I know, okay, about the losing yourself. Good evening, Crystal. Thanks so much for coming in. So with that, again, like I said, once I, began to change, to accept the change, get down. Sorry, y'all. Like I said, this is real time, real life. I'm a grandmama all day. But so once I began to embrace that change, and speaking of that change, a lot was going. It wasn't just one change. A lot was going on in my household at the time because literally I was having health problems, and then then there came the decision for the divorce. Well, right before the decision, yeah, oldest daughter. Okay, mom, I'm pregnant. It's like, yeah, you have it because you got a grandbaby, but you're like, wait a minute, so much else stuff going on. So literally, once grandbaby was born, and my daughter had moved in with us. Once grandbaby was born, ex-husband left. So it was just me, her, my son, when it's like our family changed. Our family changed because, mind you, again, my children knew mom and dad. They didn't know, daddy up the street or in the next town or whatever. They didn't know that. So that, again, it was a big change. But I say we had to choose change because we had to accept it. We had to accept it. You can't just ignore stuff, put it under the rug. Everything you can't throw under the rug and that, like, oh, well, I'm just gonna ignore this. This ain't happening. No, no, yeah, it was multiple changes happening at the same time, Kenitra. I even just tried to change careers because I was having health issues. So I went back to doing hair for a little bit, just to try to find a happy place. And health issues were still coming on, and a lot of them, about the migraine. So they all that was going on at the time, and during that time they were worse, to where it was days where I was just on the couch, just laying down. I was not me, I don't know who I was, but God just had to sit me down. So once all that happened, after the change, like I said, I just continued writing. Writing became my health. It became my help, rather, if you will. Writing became my healing. And I had always written poetry, so I just started writing poetry. And I wrote a poem. Yeah, it was very stressful, very stressful. Excuse me. And so everything that I was feeling, I was just writing. And I actually started writing. I might have started writing a little bit before he even left the household. I believe I did. I just was writing, right? Yeah, because depression, yes, it will come over you, and it came over me heavily. It came over me heavily. I didn't like my daughters. They kind of like took over the household responsibilities. I just was there. Made sure my son got to school, got me a little car or whatever. But I was just going through the motions. Just, okay, go here. Got to take him to school. Got to pick him up from school. Got to do this. And, I would watch my grandbaby for my daughter when she go to work. But other than that, it was just like going through the motions. I was just going through the motions because I didn't know anything else to do. Right. And that stress, right. I didn't know anything else to do. So that was all I could do, was just go through the motions. Right. And so I just continued writing, and to help give me some kind of peace of mind. And in the midst of all that, y'all, that's when COVID hit. That COVID hit around that, yeah, because that my grandson was born in 2019. And so a lot of changes happened, and it was like, wait a minute. I want to say COVID might have been the year afterward, because I actually went through a divorce. It's funny now, but I actually went through a divorce like I'm sitting here on this screen here with y'all, because, COVID, everything was shut down, right? Courthouses, everything. Like I was able to go like file the paperwork and all that stuff, like right. Yeah, I think, yeah, it still was after COVID hit or right before. But once the date, yeah, 2020, yeah, once the date actually happened for us, our court date was on WebEx. It was literally on WebEx. The judge, I had a friend of mine, she was a witness for me. She logged on. He had to log on. Of course, the judge and the court secretary, whoever, we literally were all here on a Zoom going through a divorce. So another change, right? Because you hear, when you hear about divorce, and nobody thinks about going through divorce on video camera, right? Exactly. COVID brought a lot of isolation, exactly. And so that added to it too. So it's like it was change after change after change after change, and no time to breathe, no time to really just slow down. Like, yeah, COVID might have been where we couldn't, go out and go meet, be with people or whatever, around people and things. But it still was stressful, because we were like, okay, nobody wants to get COVID. Nobody wants to do this. Nobody wants to do that. So while my world was changing, the whole world was changing. And I just had to embrace that change. Right. I had to embrace that change. Yes, it was crazy. It was crazy. And I had no choice but to embrace it. There I was, had my son was still in middle school. And then, like I said, I had the new grandbaby. And then, and one grandbaby, like I said, y'all here right now. I know y'all see my facial expression. Go in there and sit down, okay? And I'll see you in a little bit, okay? Thank you. I'll be finishing in a few minutes, all right? Okay, y'all. Like I said, it's real life. Yes, but yes, it was hard, Camille. It was hard to try to even keep my sanity. It really was because I'm like, I was already, like I said, the migraine. That's when, I mean, some of y'all see I share some of my migraine things on social media, but at that time, even right before he left, at that they were so bad that I was actually like literally having to go to to the emergency room, getting IVs, injections, all kind of things. So everything was just like, woo, I'm glad I'm still here. Because it's like, some people would even give up. Right, exactly. Only God knew what was going on, and He gave me the strength to continue going through it, because I could have, and even in the ending of it, I could have just cried and said, "Oh no, don't leave," and all this stuff. But I knew, I actually felt at that time, after I would sit and think about it, I felt like God allowed me, my health to decline for a little while, in order for me to see and to be able to accept things for what they really were. Some people may, disagree with me with that, but I really feel that deep in my heart that, He allowed that certain things to happen so that I would see. Now, yes, God, He's pro marriage, that's the foundation, right? But sometimes things happen, and then it's like, yes, would you say this in the hip is a blessing? Shot in the hip, yeah. I'm gonna take that comment down, but I know what you meant. That shot in the hip, exactly. You know exactly what I'm talking about, Cassie. I had so many of those. I even, matter of fact, this piercing in my ear, if y'all can see that, I had to go get that done. Actually, I had got that done before he left. Yeah, I had got that done. I think before he left, because my oldest daughter went with me. Held my hand to get it done. I had to go to the tattoo shop in Augusta and get it done, but she went with me and held my hand. And yeah, and he stayed home. Right. So that's another reason of why I had to embrace that change, right, Paula? I had to embrace the change. Exactly. I had to embrace it. And Miss Cassie said, yes, I did. Oh, okay, I got you. 'Cause I was like, oh, let me take that off of there. I don't think she's speaking that way. But yeah, and so I had no choice but to embrace change. And that's how change is, right? Some people have a hard time embracing change. Like, for instance, I know Sister Paula knows, we're having a loved one with autism. And, like I said, my son has autism. He's on the spectrum. Change is a big thing. They don't just, okay, whoop, okay, this is the new life. This is it. It's okay. Let's get through. No, it does not work that way. It doesn't work that way. For neurotypical individuals, yes, we can kind of bounce back a little bit, quicker, but it still can be hard. It still can be difficult. And so with that, like I said, from my writing and just processing things, and I just, eventually just continued to grow and just to learn. And it took a lot of me. You said, what was the reason for me getting my piercing for the migraines? They call it the daith piercing. It's on that daith nerve that's right there, like in the center of your earlobe. And that a piercing on that nerve actually helps with the migraines. Now, mind y'all, it doesn't take them away completely. It doesn't prevent them completely, but it does help, because back then, before I got this, oh yeah, on those migraine days that I do have, those would have been weeks. Those would have been me. Y'all wouldn't have even seen Deborah on social media, no nothing. Right. And so you must process it with them. Yeah, with the children, right. And you, exactly. So that's what I said. The divorce took the whole family through change. We all had to learn to embrace that change. And it was not easy. It was not easy embracing that change, but change is inevitable, right? You can't ignore it. You can't run from it. You have to accept it. So that's where we just learn to accept it and embrace it and just learn and grow. And I'm still learning about myself. It's been, my grandson's 7. I mark it by his age because, like I said, he left the home when he was born. So you have to embrace the change and you have to choose yourself. And so y'all know I'm on my healing journey. And it is not a race. It's not a race. It's a lifetime thing, if you will. And you just have to continue to embrace your change, and just become who you're supposed to be. Continue growing and just gaining some clarity about yourself, trying new things, learning about yourself. And I went through a lot of changes, but God, right? I went through a lot of changes, but God kept me. He kept me. Because I didn't. I yes, in the general sense, I grew up. I was, in my 40s, but I didn't know much about life. I didn't know much about outside life other than my family. So I had to learn a lot. Hey Stephanie, thanks so much for coming in. I appreciate you, sis. I had to learn about Deborah, and there was so many things that I did not know. I didn't, people like ask me, "Hey, Jamaica, thanks for coming in." People would say, "Well, what do you like, or what do you, And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. Like, and sometimes I'll be honest, sometimes I still struggle with that. But I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm learning more, of what Deborah likes, And that brings me to, before I let you all go for the night session, I went back to my maiden name, Jefferson. And a lot of people were like, "Well, why, you were married this long. Why did you, go back to your name?" Of course, my children's name, is the same name as my their father. But I said I had to find out who Deborah Jefferson was. I haven't been Deborah Jefferson since I was 20 years old. I was still basically, a baby, a kid, 20-year-old cells and 40 something years. So you're not the same. It's popping in and out. Oh, you popping in. Okay. Thank you so much. I got you. I appreciate it. It'll be here for the replay, Jamaica. But yeah, so I I went back to my maiden name, and it wasn't to throw no shade. It wasn't to, oh, you this. No, it was just me um embracing who I was and me embracing the change. Really, I had to figure out who I was, and that was the start of it. Was going back to my original birth name, my government name, as they say. I had to go back to that, and so that I could begin to process just being me, being Deborah Jefferson, and that's what I did. Because all the time, for majority of my life, I was his wife. I was their mama, that's all I was. And so I had to embrace my change. And yes, Jamaica says it takes courage to embrace change. It does. It takes courage to embrace change. And I continue to embrace change every single day on this journey. Right. It was from, you feel me? Right. It was every single day I had to embrace change every day. And I continue to embrace change as it comes. And so I hope you guys resonated with that message. Embrace change. It's inevitable. The harder you try to fight it, the worse it's gonna be for you. The worse it's gonna be for you if you try to fight it. So just learn. Oh, okay. You switching pages on me, sis. Okay, but yeah, just embrace your change. And right, the original. I went back to my original, Sister Paula. I went back to my original, to me, and I'm still learning about her, day to day, week to week. Thank you so much. Okay, she says, congratulations to all who are leaning into self identity in Christ. Exactly. Exactly. Because Christ put us into this world, right? He gave us purpose. Our fingerprints, our thought process. Like, yes, he does not make our decisions and all that because he gives us free will, but he created us in our mother's womb, right? Exactly. And you said the name no one can take from you. Be that. Exactly. Be that. Be who you are. Be who you were created to be. Be Jamaica. Be Paula. Be Kenitra. Be Stephanie. Be Cassandra. Be who you're supposed to be. And I'm gonna be Deborah. So again, I want to thank you guys so much tonight. I really did have a good time sharing my story with you all, and stay tuned tomorrow. So tonight I was just talking about embracing change and the beginning. So tomorrow we'll talk about what I built from embracing change. And it's just something beautiful, right? Something beautiful has to come from your journey so far. And yes, exactly. And still going right. So tomorrow we will talk about what came out of my embracing change. So thank y'all so much tonight for coming in here with me. And I will see you all tomorrow night. And Carmelita says, yes, that's good. You have a good night. Good night, Carmelita. Thank you so much for coming in. And I will see you all tomorrow night, same time. God bless y'all.